Hi there. In this instructive game, Bobby Fischer is playing against Arthur Bisguier. This is in the 1957 US Chess Championship, round 5. We see e4 from Fischer, e6 to French defense, d4, d5, knight c3, and now we have the winner to start off with. After e5, instead of the usual c5, black plays b6. This is more of a Petrosian style move. Tigran Petrosian would likely play this, in my view, to try and exchange off quite early these light square bishops, try and amplify certain squares like c4 and f5 with maybe knight outposts later, or if this square comes out, d5 outpost. So it seems a nice positional strategy. Fischer plays a3. We have bishop takes c3, check, b takes, queen d7, queen g4, exposing a slight downside here. The g7 pawn is unprotected. That's protected laterally with f5. The queen drops back. And now black plays this kind of strategic bishop exchange. And yeah, it does make sense. The position is kind of closed, strategic. You'd think, in theory, you're playing a junior player to yourself, that you should be able to get a grip on the position and have the advantage here in more strategic territory. So Fischer plays bishop takes, knight takes, and we see knight e2, black castles queenside, and it seems cozy enough, except a4. There isn't a doubt about this opening up. It looks a little bit scary. King b7, and now white castles. Queen f7 is played, and here Fischer plays a very, very interesting move, which you might think is terrible positionally, but actually it's not that bad. c4, it does aim to undouble the pawns, but what about this d5 square mentioned earlier? D takes and maybe a knight swings around to d5. Well, black actually played knight e7 here. If d takes immediately, queen c3 as an example, this situation is going to be quite pleasant for white. As an example, white could play like this and maybe get rid of that knight before it even arrives on d5. Just get rid of the knight and play for c4 with a nice advantage for white. Maybe even with c5 hitting the knight, it can become a disaster quite quickly for black. So we see actually knight e7 immediately. And now we see bishop g5 tying that knight down. D takes, queen c3, and it looks as though, hold on, the knight can come to d5 with tempo against the queen. It does. Fischer allows this temporarily perched knight on d5, okay, because the queen's attacked, and the rook moves away from the bishop being attacked. The bishop drops back, but Fischer knows, it seems, he can move the queen and then play c4. It's a temporary perchment of the knight. f4 is played, and now rook a3 helps defend laterally. We see g5, and now a5, c6. This does mean that the b6 square has been slightly compromised, but it is starting to be a difficult position. We see a takes, and now queen b3, not only unlocking the pawn potential, but also looking at b6. We see knight a c7, c4, rook takes, rook a8, queen b3, knight e7, knight c3, and now queen f5 is played. You might think, hold on a sec, what about g4? The thing is, knight e4 is really dangerous. It looks at things like knight d6 and sometimes knight c5, and if knight c8, f3, and then, this can just be wiped out. It can be erased. Black's attack can essentially be erased there. So we see queen f5, queen b4 looking at the knight on e7. That retreats back. Knight a4. Now f3. This does look for a moment as though, hold on a sec, isn't there queen g4 and queen h3? White does have to be careful. Knight c5 check is played. If g3, queen h3, this would allow a perpetual check, but black does better here rather than the immediate queen h3. If this had happened, guess what black plays, which kind of wins? If I give you 5 seconds, black's playing here. If Fischer had played g3, there's rook takes a4, and then there's no fun to be had. This is a form pawn which is winning. Go hanging pawn, which is checkmating. So white has to be careful. So knight c5 check was played, and now knight d7, and now queen b3. This is a safety point. We see queen g4, knight c5 check, and now g3. The queen is ready to scoop up f3 sometimes. Queen takes d4 is played. If queen h3 here, queen takes f3. This is just bad for black after check and rook b1. This is nasty. Big threats here. So if, for example, this, white's just going to be winning. So g3, queen takes d4. We have bishop e3, queen a1. So yeah, there's a back row mate if Fischer takes. Now Fischer can see that it's going to be a back row mate. He's not that tempted to win material at the expense of his king. You know, form pawn with the back row mate. No. So after queen a1, he just plays rook b1. Now rook a3 is played, but unfortunately after check, queen d1, and the queen is here, and b6 has got 3 things on it, only 1 defending. We see queen a2, now knight takes b6. Knight takes, rook takes b6 check. It's all crashing through after queen takes f3. Fischer goes en route, taking out a key dangerous pawn to get to the black king en route. That's a great way of going en route. Trampling over the opponent's attacking potential in order to get your own attack as well. It's like a win-win, or rather not lose win with that form pawn. So yeah. Also, I mean, the position's actually rather strong. Bishop takes g5 was also possible. For example, like this, with queen d8 check, mate. So it is a rather strong position. It's tricky for black here. So anyway, queen takes f3. Queen takes c4 doesn't last too long anyway. There's an unprotected piece in this position, the a3 rook. And Fischer picks this up with queen f8 check. Just takes. And yeah, black resigned here. If we just rewind for a little bit here, on rook b3, then check, check, check. And we can actually not just have perpetual, but play this check, and then rook takes c6. This is rather crushing. In fact, another en route to attack, we can actually clear up g5 after bishop d2 first. We can clear up g5 en route here to bishop d8. This kind of thing is really quite disturbing, wiping out pawns en route for the attack. And that's crushing as well. So yeah, very, very interesting game here against the kind of Petrosian style played French defense. So Fischer kind of entertained a perched knight on d5. It seems as though that was one of black's main ambitions, maybe to outplay Bobby Fischer. But Fischer's energetic c4, it does seem rather, justified. That it's kind of undoubled white's pawns and started to create huge pressure. And the defense and attack here in this game, orchestrated, is very mature. Very mature indeed, keeping things under great control. Even in the light of a very dangerous looking fawn pawn emerging by black, Fischer had it under control with these cheeky checks, and then queen b3, all under control here. Remarkable stuff. F takes is mostly harmless. Things like rook b1, it looks as though black's attack would be nowhere. It would be like helping defend the white king. So yeah, this is just very, very interesting. Allowing the fawn pawn, bishop e3, and everything starts pointing at b6. So yeah, a very, very incisive win. And going en route, taking out the fawn pawn and then taking out the rook. What more could you want there? Okay, I hope you got something from this game. Remarkable stuff from the young Bobby Fischer. Okay, thanks so much. Hi guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you want more Bobby Fischer content, check out my Kingscrusher TV page. And if you go to the bottom of it, it starts at the bottom with 1970 to 1992. I also have 2 other Bobby Fischer courses. I found him absolutely fascinating to study. So there's 1956 to 62 early in his career, and there's 1963 to 68. So I hope you find those interesting. You might want to check them out, all the free samples. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. Comments, questions, likes, shares, always appreciated. Thanks very much.